Open Minds Media.
Indiana County 911. My brother's gone. Can you be a little more specific, sir? He took my brother. Who took him? I don't know who took him. I don't know what. Sir, take a breath. Explain to me what happened.
And I looked out and there was this big red blinking UFO.
I can just say this. Something's going on in the woods. Something's going on.
They're not dogs, they're not coyotes. What could it be, right?
I had an encounter with a skunk ape, and it completely altered the course of my life.
I found a skull. I think you guys are going to want to come film this.
Put him out, put him out, put him out, put him out, put him out.
I just see it.
Sightings of a UFO hovering over a barn.
Millie woke up from a dream, and when I went into the bedroom, she said there's a monster on the wall.
They saw that the creature had run through a barbed wire fence. They were able to obtain hairs. They sent the hairs to their lab, and it came back as an unknown creature.
Bizarre Encounters with Shayn Orin.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to the most bizarre show on the internet. I am the one that they call Ommencounterreports.
And I'm Orin.
The big bad fucking Boo Daddy.
Big bad Boo Daddy. Back again.
Don't mess with my Boo Daddy.
That's right. So kind of before we get rolling today, I want to give a special shout out and a big thanks to our buddy Barry at Dimension Devices. I mean, we had him on the show not so long ago. It was a great episode. You guys should check that out if you have not. But he hooked me up with one of his Chattergeist kind of paranormal investigation ghost hunting devices. Super cool. I just got it yesterday, so I hadn't had a chance to mess around with it too much, but it's got a bunch of different modes. It's got like a Ouija board mode and like picture drawing mode and emoji mode, all sorts of cool stuff. So definitely check out our episode with him if you want to learn more about that. But big thanks to Barry. You're awesome, man. Thank you for hooking me up. And also, if you guys are interested in picking up a Chattergeist of your own, we have an affiliate link with Barry that will save you 10%.
Oh, yeah. And guys, if you think we deserve it, which hopefully we do, if you guys are sitting around still and listening to the show, it would be really cool if we could get some 5-star reviews on iTunes and Spotify. It's been a while since we've had a 5-star review on iTunes that we're able to read on the show. We know a bunch of you guys are out there listening. I see all the numbers and stuff. If you just 10% of you guys left some reviews for us, it would help us out a lot, help boost up the show, make it so we're seen by more people so we can keep building the community and everything. But yeah, if you guys don't mind doing that, we would greatly appreciate it. And of course, if you leave one on iTunes, we will read on the show and give you guys a big shout out.
And all the normal stuff, don't forget to follow Bizarre Encounters and Open Minds Media on Instagram and Facebook, and check out our video content on YouTube and TikTok. And Shane, I think you've got an announcement about YouTube, correct?
So as far as YouTube goes, I was running on Riverside for a while, and due to operating limitations as far as my computer goes, I had to switch over to Zoom again because it just needed too much processing power to run Riverside. So I was making a bunch of clips, and that's what I was dropping them through on Riverside and everything like that. But now I am using Zoom again, so I kind of have to do things a little bit differently. There's still going to be video content. I'm still going to add that into the mix. But at least for right now, if anybody prefers listening to the show on YouTube rather than through the normal feed, I am now putting wavelengths of all of the episodes for Bizarre Encounters and for Inquiries of Our Reality. And of course, the recent episode of Bizarre Inquiries was also dropped on YouTube if you guys want like some straight video content that's not in wavelength form. But I'm trying to expand that over there. So if anybody's interested in it, at least you guys can listen to the regular show now on YouTube.
And also, don't forget to submit your own questions for Bizarre Inquiries, our Patreon exclusive mini show. And you guys can also join in the discussion on the Discord for Open Minds Media. Just get up with us. We can chat about different stuff. We can, hear your bizarre inquiries about stuff. Just get up with us somehow.
Oh, yeah, because we definitely love to discuss. I mean, of course, we like keeping it into the world of the strange, talking about like cryptids and all that kind of stuff. But we can expand the range of questions. We can talk about spirituality, philosophy, anything you guys want to throw at us. And because we just like having some open conversation. So don't feel stingy with those questions or feel like they need to specifically pertain to, again, like strange phenomenon. You guys can ask us any weird stuff you guys want, and we'd love to be able to have a conversation about it. And if anybody has any encounters encounters to report, you guys can report those to ommencounterreports at outlook.com. Either one, you guys can type it out, or you guys can record yourselves on your phones, for example, and send it to me through email. And if you guys send in those ones, I would definitely love to make a compilation episode where Orin and I kind of discuss some of the encounters and put our theories and thoughts on all of this kind of stuff. But in the simplest form, if you guys don't want your story shared whatsoever, you just want somebody to talk to about it, you want somebody to not look at you like you're crazy, we're definitely here for that too. We can definitely do that. Just let us know, of course, and your story won't go anywhere, and we can just strictly talk about it between us. And depending on how far you might be from one of us, we might even be able to come out and possibly even investigate it. But none of that will happen, of course, unless you guys report your encounters to ommencounterreports at outlook.com. And if you guys want to support the show, a couple different ways to do so. Number one, best way to support the show is through Patreon. I updated the tiers, I think, a week or two ago. Tried to make it so that I can't do the live version of the show anymore, just because Zoom isn't really set up like that. So I kind of had to alter the tiers a little bit. So if you guys check those out recently, they got updated yet again. I apologize. But if you guys are interested in checking that out, the $3 tier and the $5 tier, there is a 7-day free trial. I'm even thinking about possibly even adding a $1 tier, which would simply be probably just ad-free episodes if anybody's interested in that. You wouldn't get the early access. It would just strictly be ad-free. But I'm always trying to expand over there. So if you guys want to support the show, again, Patreon is one of the best ways to do it. Or in the other way that you guys can support the show is through the OMM merch store. Over there, you'll find stuff for this show. You'll find stuff for Inquiries of Our Reality, Bizarre Inquiries, and a bunch of other random designs that I've worked on that don't have podcast names or logos or anything on them. And I'm still running the promotional code if you guys are interested in picking up something. 10% off. You guys can use code Cryptid10. And if you guys were interested in joining the Patreon too, there are specific promo codes for each of those tiers. So make sure that if you guys sign up for the Patreon, that you take advantage of those promo codes that I also offer for the merch store for becoming a Patreon. And if anybody is interested in podcast production services or audiobook services, you guys can hit me up through Open Minds Media. Whether you're a podcaster just starting off or you're somebody that's been doing it for a while, you want to try to make the job easier, I'm here to help you guys out with any production things that you might need. And to all the authors out there, if anybody's interested in having an audiobook made, it's something that I have not done yet, but I would absolutely love to do it, considering that I've been doing all this audio stuff for going on at least like 15 years. I've been doing it for a while. I've been doing it since not 15, actually, yeah, probably about 15 years since I was in high school. So I do have experience beyond just podcasting. So if anybody, again, is interested in having an audiobook made, you guys can also hit me up through Open Minds Media.
And as always, big shout out to our sponsors, IKNOWSQUATCH, our buddies Rick and Hans over there. Check them out for all your squatchy gear needs. Joe at Cryptoteeology, he's killing it with his wearable cryptid favorites.
And Snarly Yow, you guys can check him out for his fantastic natural beard and body products. They have a smoky cedar smell with a hint of mint. He makes a beard oil, a beard balm, a beard shampoo, and a body wash. Absolutely fantastic. I use them every single day, and they make my beard soft as shit.
And if you guys are in the West Virginia area, our buddy Dave, a.k.a. the Snarly Yow, puts on a whole lot of really cool like cryptid-themed events. Definitely go check that out. And we will be speaking/emceeing at his Cryptid Halloween 3 event in October.
I have some exciting news as far as that goes that I don't think that you have heard yet. Dave wanted me to try to expand and get some more speakers in. So one that I asked that we still got to try to figure it out and set it up is Rick from IKNOWSQUATCH. So he might be there. And the one that is confirmed that he will be there, and this is the exciting one, is Kevin. Kevin will be coming, vending, and speaking with us this year.
Well, that's awesome. That would be a nice little family reunion with everybody.
Exactly. It'd be a lot of fun, man. I was really excited about it, and I'm glad that he decided that he wanted to pick up on that, because I'm looking forward to being able to hang out with all three of us, because that'll be, I think, the first time that we've been able to hang out with all three of us, because I don't think he was at the last event that we were at together, was he?
No, but I think, fingers crossed, he's going to be at Monster Fest, so maybe we'll all get to hang out there.
And so will Michael Thompson. We'll have the full crew, man. We'll finally get to meet everybody all together. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a good time, and that's going to be here before we know it.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of that, for anybody that's interested in coming to Small Town Monster Fest 2, coming and hanging out with us, that will be June 29th in downtown Canton, Ohio. It's going to be at the DoubleTree by Hilton. Kids on 12 and under are free, but everybody else, you guys will have to make sure you guys scoop yourself a ticket. Make sure you guys mark your calendars and come and see us at our table. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're all going to to be there. Obviously, we're going to be there with the family and stuff, like the full podcast family and the actual family. And I just recently got a really nice, crisp banner made. So you guys will have to look for the big black banner that has the Open Minds Media symbol in the middle. And I'm hoping to see you guys out there, of course. And moving into the affiliate links, we already mentioned the one, of course. Don't forget to go and check out Dimension Devices. But the newest sponsor of the show is Oregon-ite. And he creates these pieces that basically are intended to take in negative energy and put out positive energy, helping with things such as productivity, happiness, whatever you choose that you want one made for. Isaac puts a lot of time into these things. He makes them all by hand. And if anybody's interested in checking out his work, which is absolutely fantastic, can't say it enough, you guys can go and use our affiliate link. And if you guys are interested in getting 10% off on any of your orders, you guys can use code OMM at checkout.
And all this shit we've mentioned is in the link tree in the show description. So tonight's topic / episode, whatever you want to call it, is something that Shayn kind of took and ran with. So without further ado, since we kind of went a little long on the front of the house, Shayn, why don't you tell everybody what we got going on tonight?
So tonight, guys, considering that we've been kind of hopping around the world as far as this stuff goes, we're going to continue doing this because it seems like you guys are picking up on it and you guys are really enjoying the fact that we're kind of covering some of this more obscure stuff. I figured that we covered Europe recently, so we're going to take it to Canada because I don't think we've really talked about any cryptids from Canada yet on the show. Have we, Orin?
I don't think so. So we're going up to the Great White North, eh?
So hopping into this one, and I got to make sure I say it properly because I had to check it a couple times before we started. We're diving into the Lake Thetis. Am I saying that right? Thetis Monster. I'm going to hope I'm saying it right.
I think we have written, is it Thetis?
Thetis, that is it, yes. The Lake Thetis Monster. Okay. Enjoy our bloopers. This is Bizarre Encounters After Dark. Normally you got to pay extra for that shit, for all the blooper reels.
Yeah, we're getting unhinged early tonight.
We're going to leave it right on the episode just for you guys. So you guys know that we're not robots. We're real people that make mistakes sometimes.
Let's get on with Lake Thetis.
Lake Thetis. All right. Nestled in the breathtaking landscapes of Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, Thetis Lake is known for its stunning beauty and tranquil surroundings, becoming the first regional conservation area in Canada in 1958. It spans approximately 831 hectares of protected forest and parkland.
I've got to ask, what in the hell is a hectare? Is that some kind of Canadian unit of measurement that my country ass has no idea what it is?
I'm going to assume so, because honestly, when it came into the metric and standard thing, I don't think we went anything past maybe like a kilometer. So I'm assuming that a hectare is a square kilometer, like almost like equivalent to like an acre in standard form. That's what I'm gonna kind of.
Canada is your neighbor. I figured you knew. So anyway,
I don't fuck with that metric system, man. We got a border in between. They don't let them come over.
We fought a war, so we didn't have to deal with that shit.
We're all gonna corrupt each other. They don't want that, man.
Anyway, carry on.
Located next to the Old Island Highway and a regional trail, it is a popular spot for hiking, swimming, fishing, and boating. But beneath its serene waters lurks a creature that has long captivated the imagination of locals and visitors alike. The Thetis Lake Monster, or Canadian Lizard Man, is a cryptid that was sighted twice on Vancouver Island, Canada. It's said to be a humanoid being that resembles a prehistoric lizard, or the creature from the Black Lagoon. It has been the subject of numerous sightings and stories over the years, leaving many to ponder its existence. Let's navigate through the murky depths of this intriguing legend.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, see, I gotta do all the water puns, man. It's fun. I make enough of this stuff fishing, so I had to throw it in there, you know?
We need like a pun counter for tonight.
Ding, ding, ding. I mean, shit, too bad I don't have the sound effects from the Cryptid tournament, because I could have used the one-up one as as the ding pun one for tonight. Wait, let's check it out. Let's see if I still got it on the board.
Here's an idea.
Nope, that's Here's an Idea, Aliens. Nope, I think I got it on the other soundboard. Oh, well, we're just going to skip past it.
Y'all just count along at home.
Yeah, you guys can count along. It would make a drinking game out of it. Whoever gets the count correct will win a beer that's already in your fridge that you paid for. An allotment. Your own allotments. That's what you win.
Yep, your own bought allotments.
And if you guys are feeling extra fancy, I want you guys to go to your top shelf and grab your absolute best liquor and have a shot on me of your best liquor. Or best joint, depending on which way you want to spin it. To understand the mystery of the Lake Thetis Monster, we must rewind the clock and delve into its origin. The first reported sighting dates back decades with eyewitness accounts. And now we will dive into the sightings of it. Do you got any comments, of course, before we get into sightings or anything?
No, I think I'm good.
I mean, I'm just going to go right off the bat, man. This thing looks like the creature from the Black Lagoon. You know, there were sightings. Maybe the reason there were sightings is because he was just trying to find his woman, you know? You know how the lake monster has this whole love story just like any of the old monster movies? He was just trying to find his woman, man. He wasn't trying to hurt nobody.
Just misunderstood. A hopeless romantic.
Too bad his girlfriend or whatever he's into, I don't fucking know, was in South Carolina because, you know, clearly they made it a little astray from each other.
Well, hey, if it's meant to be, they'll come back together or whatever the hell that saying is.
Maybe they did. Maybe they'll endlessly search the world for forever trying to find each other like lost wandering spirits. Maybe these things are spirits now because they died of a broken heart and now they're just trying to find each other from the other side.
I got nothing on that one.
Or
here's an idea. Aliens.
Gotta always go back to that when you're talking about lizard people. Come on now. Or hollow earth dwellers. That's also definitely an option too.
Yeah.
They come through caverns in lakes and just fuck people up because you have lizards near caves, but you also have these lizard things near lakes. I mean, the common factor between that is there are caverns in lakes. I mean, maybe they're all coming from the same place. Just one's like, shit, I went through the wrong tunnel and now I'm submerged in water. I need to get the fuck out of here real quick. And when they pop out of the surface, they're just trying to get a breath of water and they end up scaring the shit out of anybody around because they're like,
I mean, that face is just not going to be the same without the video. Your drowning fish lizard man face.
Did you see the fear in my eye?
I did. Guys, this one's getting unhinged early tonight. We're, not even through the first sighting yet, and Shane's already over there making drowning fish faces. So.
I had to put myself in the place of that, and I'm claustrophobic as hell. And if I'm in an underwater cave, man, I'm going to have a panic attack. So I felt that for a moment, man. I put myself in the place of it. I was a method actor for a moment, man. That was some true raw emotion.
Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed.
I impressed myself. So, hopping into the first sighting. On August 17th, 1972, it is reported by the Victoria Daily Times that 16-year-old Robert Fluelian? I'm just going to... Fluelian? What do you think? Well, I'm gonna take opinions on this one.
Flewellyn, maybe?
I'm just going to go with that. Flewellyn. And if anybody wants to look it up, it's Flewellyn. Robert Flewellyn. And 17-year-old Gordon Pike went to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, claiming that they saw a spontaneous swelling of water, and then were chased by a terrifying monster. The RCMP launched a manhunt for this creature, saying of the two boys, the boys seem sincere, and until we determine otherwise, we have no alternative but to continue our investigation. Flewellyn and Pike described the creature that chased them as looking something like Gilman from the 1951 movie The Creature from the Black Lagoon. There you go. They said it was roughly triangular in shape, 5 feet tall, and 5 feet across the base.
I did have a question about this. I was just a little confused by the wording. What do they mean by triangular in shape, 5 feet tall, and 5 feet across at the base? Because some of the stuff I looked up for every rendering I saw basically was just like creature from the Black Lagoon. So I was just a little...
See how I kind of because I took that from like the actual like article of these kids describing it. The way I took it is usually when you see depictions of this thing, it's kind of in the hands out pose. So I'm assuming that it was like feet close together, hands out, and it was making like an upside down triangle. That's kind of how I took it.
All right.
Because I mean that would mean that like shoulder, hands out, that was about 5 feet, and it was about 5 feet tall.
All right, that makes sense.
Or at least that's my best guess, at least, because I thought that was kind of weird wording too. At first, I thought that maybe they're talking about the like swelling in the water that they mentioned, but again, every depiction I've seen kind of has the hands out, so I'm assuming it's just like the shape of its stance.
Okay.
Which I'll just pop back a sentence. They also claim to have been attacked, as one had been slashed across the hand with the monster's 3 webbed fingers, which it had in addition to its 3 webbed toes and barred fins on its skull, arms, and legs. So before we hop into the second counter, do you got any other comments or anything on this one?
The only thing I'll add here is I thought like the 3 fingers and 3 toes thing was kind of interesting because, we get a lot of reports, sightings, what have you, of like three-toed Sasquatches, and like this three-toed motif seems to pop up a lot with like cryptids and high strangeness. So that was the only other thing I was going to add.
Was that I don't know if you remember offhand, because I think you're the one that did the research for that one. But the lizard man of Skateboard Swamp was that one described as having 3 fingers and toes? Because I know we kind of landed on the fact that it may have been more of like a Sasquatch how it was originally described, but the later on ones where it got a little bit more reptilian, was it described with 3 fingers and toes? Do you remember?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, and that's been a long time since we've done that one, so listeners, forgive me if I get this wrong, but I do think some of the reports were 3-toed. I think there was some that were kind of more standard, but
wasn't there a footprint and like a slash on a car or something that may have been the 3-finger thing?
Yeah, there's something like that. I do think the 3-toed idea was part of that case as well.
And I mean, kind of just a theory on this thing, man. I was saying the whole idea about these things coming out of caves and just having that freak out moment because they're not intended to be underwater. If you were drowning and you got out of the water and something was close to you, you know those things where you see somebody drowning and they kind of grab onto somebody and just kind of freak out and climb up over them just to get out of the water and be able to breathe? I mean, maybe that could have been theoretically what the slashing was, as if this is the same phenomenon as these cave-dwelling lizard people. Maybe it went through a wrong cavern and kind of just was half drowning and had to get out of the water real quick and kind of grabbed onto the first thing that was near it and then took off. I mean, just a theory.
Cave lizards ain't good swimmers?
No, hell no, man. If you're trying to put a lizard in water, man, they either swim or they sink. It's one or the other. And if they don't got a tail, they ain't swimming.
I've never tried to put a lizard in water. I mean, that sounds like a euphemism, but
I mean, it's definitely something I've done literally many a time, being a person that's had reptiles forever.
Being a lizard man?
Exactly. I mean, shit, my original email for my Hotmail is reptile guy, so I mean.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first, guys. Shayn, confirmed lizard man.
But, I mean, at least with the tail, like, if something has a tail, that's generally how a lizard is able to swim, is it kind of like uses the tail to kind of swish and maneuver itself. But any lizard that doesn't have a tail, such as like a leopard gecko, it's dropped its tail, whatever, it seems like they lose their maneuverability in the water without the tail. So this thing not being described with the tail, I mean, maybe it wasn't intended to be aquatic. Maybe people just associate it with being a sea monster because of the creature of the Black Lagoon coming out, 15 whatever years prior to this. They just kind of associate with something. I mean, I still kind of sit on the fence of the whole idea that it's water-based around the sightings, but there's still a possibility that it may not be like a water-dwelling being.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's a good point.
So hopping into the second sighting, 4 days after the initial sighting, 14-year-old Russell Van Nice and 12-year-old Mike Gold claimed to see the same creature on the other side of the lake from the original sighting. The boys said of their encounter, it came out of the water, looked around, then it went back into the water. Then we ran. Its body was silver and shaped like an ordinary body, like a human being body, but it had a monster face, and it was all scaly with a point sticking out of its head and great big ears and horrifying eyes. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police eventually closed their investigation of the Thetis Lake Monster when a man called it and claimed his pet tegu had escaped a year prior. It was officially assumed that this was responsible for the sightings, despite this explanation not making sense for a number of reasons. The tegu lizard can't survive a Canadian winter. In addition, the lizard's size, it can only grow up to 4 feet, and its characteristics don't match the depictions given of the Thetis Lake Monster. And for anybody that's not familiar with what a tegu looks like, typically it's a bigger lizard, kind of around the size of like a typical monitor, except they're usually kind of like flat color. They're not like that huge. Like the typical coloration of like a tegu is it's like a black with like white striping and stuff over it. But again, I've dealt with these things many a time when I used to work at the reptile store and I managed that for a while. And yeah, they're nowhere near what this kid was describing. Not to mention they don't have any like spikes or anything on their neck. They're like a smooth, lanky, bigger monitor-sized lizard, essentially. But got any comments before I continue on, man?
No, I think I'm good right now.
Okay. Recently, Daniel Loxton, an editor for Junior Skeptic magazine, tracked down Russell Van Nice. Van Nice admitted that he and Gold had made up the story for attention, adding that Gold was famous for being a habitual liar. Loxton also noted the coincidence that a week before the original report, a local TV station had broadcasted the movie Monster from the Surf. otherwise known as Beach Girls and the Monster, which featured a creature similar to the one reported as the Lake Thetis Monster. Luxton also stated that the only reason the story of the Thetis Lake Monster has endured despite this debunking is because cryptozoologists don't do their homework, as he claims. But we'll get into more theories on this one because, yeah, I'll just continue on first before I make comment on this.
First off, Beach Girls and the Monster sounds like a porno.
I was literally thinking that, and I was going to comment that, and just for the sake of it.
That's what she said.
I'm glad I beat you to it.
And we got a That's What She Said it. It's been a hot minute since we've had a That's What She Said in an episode. That sounds like one of those creepy like Japanese like hentai porns. You know, like the octopus thing that everybody's been joking about for the past like 20 years. Like it sounds like something you'd see in that.
I don't know. That's a new one for me. Apparently, I'm not watching those kind of dirty movies. So.
Don't make me feel like the weirdo. I don't watch this shit. I'm just aware of it. How are you not aware? Because I love watching naked women cartoons. Because it's so much better than the real thing to see a cartoon drawing.
Hey, to each their own.
Hey, man. Hey, it is what it is. I mean, some people that are into that stuff, you know, get those body pillows and those become their girlfriends. But, you know, that's their own personal business, I guess. However, Fluell and Pike had not come forward to say the same. Because Van Nuys and Gold were the second pair of witnesses, it can't be outright said that the Thetis Lake Monster has been debunked, based only on Van Nuys' word. Yet many locals still believe that the Thetis Lake Lizard Man is still alive in the lake. So again, it's one of those things that it's like, okay, you have 2 sightings, and we're going to get into more modern sightings on this thing, but like, say 4 people see Sasquatch in an area. One of them says, oh yeah, we made up our encounter. So like, typically when it comes to most encounters, would you throw out the first encounter just because the second encounter claimed that theirs was fake? Because assumably, if it was 4 days later, there was probably already an article posted about it, which means that these other boys were already aware of the fact that somebody, quote, saw a lizard man in this area. So anybody could have made up a story after it's already in the forefront of people's minds. So it's like, I don't understand the whole like, oh, the second guy said it was fake, so that means the first one was fake. Like, it doesn't, that doesn't make sense to me.
That was kind of going to be my kind of concluding point on this is, you know, once something's out there in the public opinion and public eye, it seems like it's something that these other boys probably just latched on to almost. So, yeah, I'm totally with you on that. That was, like I said, going to be one of my conclusions, but. And
the Tegu thing too. It's just people, it's like the swamp gas thing, man. Anybody just tries to look for any reason, just say, yep, that has to be it. So people are describing a 5-foot tall lizard and they're going to say that, oh, it was just a tegu, which is like a ground lizard that doesn't stand up on its hind legs and is at the max 4 feet tall and also doesn't fit the coloration. Like, yep, that's the explanation. We're done with this.
Or really the description with like all the spikes and all that jazz.
See, sometimes with this kind of stuff, I feel like stuff is weird. They don't know what to do with it. So they just find a way to just close the case and be done with it because they don't know how to handle the case realistically.
Yeah, I mean, with like actual crimes that are committed, we know the police just want to basically find somebody to pin this shit on and, you know, just move on to the next thing. And I mean, if that's with like actual murders and shit, you know, with just weird off the wall monster sightings like this, the easiest way that they can just wash their hands of a lot of this shit, they're going to jump on it. So,
and I mean, cops like having a ratio too, meaning that like you have cases you've solved versus cases you haven't solved. And those cases you haven't solved, you know, will sit around for like the rest of your career as like your cold cases, you know, like you'll be fully aware that you never finished that case. So more often than not, like cops don't like unfinished cases or detectives don't like unfinished cases. So sometimes they'll just look, especially with stuff like this, or even some of the murder stuff. Like sometimes they'll know that there's multiple people involved. They'll pin it on one just so that they're able to close the case and not worry about trying to get the second guy because they at least got one. It's just a matter of, again, trying to close and finish your cases so you're not sitting at the end of your career with a bunch of cases that you never actually finished. You want your numbers to look good, you know? Even for yourself, I guess, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, we kind of went on a rabbit hole there, but yeah, I'm with you. I think we kind of sometimes underplay just run-of-the-mill, like institutional incompetence and a lot of this kind of stuff.
And the mainstream narrative told you it, so that must be the truth, right?
Yeah, just nothing to see here. Moving on.
I mean, that's also the other option, too, is it could potentially be some kind of cover-up because, I mean, I don't know if there could have been weird chemical spills in the area that was trying to be covered up or something. It could be something that they were already aware of. It was in the area, for example, because if it was like a reserve area, we already talk about the whole thing with reserve areas in the U.S. and that they could potentially be locations where they know weird things happen and they kind of just use it as a reason to section stuff off. I mean, they could have been fully aware of it, and this could have been a completely purposeful cover-up because they didn't want people digging into it too much more.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And when I was going through the notes, I kind of earmarked that too, that it being like a preserve, or I don't remember the exact wording, but
I mean, it could have even been some type of testing facility too. I mean, like how long have people been trying to make like hybridized beings? I mean, if there's some kind of weird government test facility that nobody's even supposed to know about, and they were possibly trying to make like aquatic soldiers, for example. I mean, could have had a test subject get out. A couple of people saw it. They tried to just cover it up real quick because they knew that nobody would ever find it again because after the 2 sightings, they're probably just like, pull them back in or something like that. They could have just had that intention behind it,
Yeah, and just blame it on a lizard.
Yep, just a giant tegu, right? Even prominent cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman has stated that the confession Laxton received from Van Nuys should not be accepted as the ultimate truth of the Thetis Lake Monster being a hoax, saying that there is usually someone around who wants to tell whoever will listen that such and such an event was a hoax to get their 15 minutes of fame. Which, again, the boys may have said that they had an encounter that they didn't have for 15 minutes of fame and then claimed it was all a hoax for another 15 minutes of fame. Definitely possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Or the other option, too, is that maybe they know that they faked their encounter and their morals got back with them and they had to admit that theirs was false. But also in the report, they didn't say, I think the other one's false. They just said that theirs was false. And again, if they were aware of it, they could have completely staged it just for the sake of being part of something and then later feeling bad and feeling guilty and admitting to the fact that they faked their encounter. But before we keep going in circles with this one, we're going to dive into modern encounters. Over the years, brave souls have come forward to share their spine-tingling encounters with the Thetis Lake Monster. Fishermen, hikers, and locals have recounted eerie moments where they caught glimpses of a shadowy figure gliding through the waters, its eyes gleaming in the moonlight. One witness even claimed to have felt the chill of fear wash over them as they locked their eyes with the creature, a moment frozen in time that haunts them to this day. These accounts beg the question, what secrets does Lake Thetis hold, and what lies beneath its surface? It especially should not be outright assumed that the Lake Thetis Monster is a hoax because sightings have been reported as happening as recently as 2006. A man named Jesse Martin claimed in a post dated November 1st, 2011, that as he was leaving the lake, he saw a man running towards him who lunged at his passenger side door and hit the handle of the door as he pulled away, which I purposely threw that one in there because that reminded me of the lizard man of Skateboard Swamp.
Yeah, there was a lot of reports of him, whatever the creature was, like attacking cars and running after them. And so, yeah, I actually thought that too when I was reading through the notes. So
he's just a misunderstood monster, man. He just thinks the car's another big monster, and he's just trying to scare it away. He's like, ah.
Or looking for a ride, maybe.
Yeah, I just need a ride to my woman. She's down in South Carolina. Just give me a ride. So he's chasing after people, just trying to get a ride, and people think he has 3 fingers, but actually in lizard man talk, that's actually the hitchhiker sign, and he's just chasing people like, ride, give me a ride, give me a ride.
And there you go again, guys. You've heard it here first. Shayn has cracked the code.
He just wants his lady, man. That's all these creatures want at the end of the day is just some companionship.
Hitchhiking lovesick lizards. You heard it here first.
I wish we titled our episodes weird because that would right there be the title of the episode.
Hey, don't tempt me. We'll start doing
it. Martin said of the aftermath of this encounter, when I got back to the place I was staying in, Duncan, I pulled into the driveway and was about to go inside when I decided to take a look at the spot on the car where the man had struck it. As I walked towards it, I stared dumbfounded at what I saw. 5 scratch marks with patches of fish scales strewn throughout. And again, this is where stuff gets kind of weird because 3 fingers, now it's saying 5 fingers. But one thing that I was thinking about possibly earlier with at least the kids that cited it and mentioned 3 fingers, because let's just throw out the second encounter because false. So we're not even going to take that one in consideration. But for the first counter with the 3 fingers thing, could it have been potentially possible that these kids being under fear didn't fully make sense of what they were looking at? And if this thing was running at him with its hands out, could it have possibly been doing kind of like the Spock thing where it looked like 2 fingers and 2 fingers were 1 finger and it had thumbs?
Yeah, that's possible. Or maybe it had like 3 big fingers and like 2 smaller on the side or something like that. Who knows?
Could have been separate claws too. I mean, there's some animals that'll have like multiple claws on one limb. So, I mean, it could be like 1 finger has like 2 claws in it to begin with too. I mean, the bigger ones could have 2 claws. Could have been like depending on the shape of the claw too. If it had that bow grip to it, it could have had like 2 points on it that looked like 2 scratch marks, but it was actually just like the flat part of the nail on 2 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely possible.
But Lauren Coleman asked Martin what he thought about debunkers who dismiss his claims. He reported, "My response to the debunkers is simple. It's easy to deny the existence of something if it doesn't fit into your concept of what real is and what it isn't. It's difficult to come forward and admit you've actually had an encounter with an unknown creature knowing you'll be in the position to be attacked," which we talk about all the time on the show about people coming forward with their encounters and feeling like people just either one, don't believe them, or they then become like a mockery to the people around them that don't want to believe in the potential existence of this kind of stuff. But
yeah, totally.
Similar creatures have been reported from places such as Ohio, Delaware, Louisiana, and North Carolina, and of course South Carolina, for at least the last century. Lake monsters like this one are said to exist all over the world. Haida mythology from Queen Charlotte Islands describes a similar creature with a human-like face, 2 tails, and often wears a hat. This creature is often feared by Haitian canoeists. A possible explanation, if this species really exists, is that it is almost certainly a species of large semi-aquatic reptile or a large fish species with prominent fins and scales. Kind of talking about almost like the one from we were talking about from last week, the North Carolina
Norman
episode.
Monster?
Yes, where
Normie,
there's
our
the
boy.
potential of it being some type of giant crocodile, alligator, or a giant catfish. I mean, people want to throw out stuff like that. I mean, technically, that is still a form of a cryptid if it's something larger or something that shouldn't necessarily be in the area, but you still got to take into consideration bizarre phenomenon happening with things that we're already fully aware of, like gigantism, for example, or elephantitis of a specific animal that makes it look semi-deformed or something like that. And it is something that we're fully aware of, but it's just not how we would imagine that it looked. I mean, definitely a possibility.
Well, and then, kind of these scary situations that these kids were in, we know that our memory and perception of things like this in those heightened states are not super great. So, I mean, it could have been something as simple as, like you said, a really big catfish or something like that, and that got spun to, oh my God, it was this 3-fingered thing. I mean, catfish have the like whiskers or whatever. I mean, that kind of could be where the spikes came from. Who knows?
It was a guy in a scuba suit who was suffocating because his scuba equipment had gone wrong, and he was covered in seaweed and was freaking out like, "Kids, help me!" And it just came off as, oh my God, it's a creature with scaly skin covered in weird lake features.
Yeah.
Could be something more literal like that. I'm surprised that nobody's thrown that idea anyways.
Right. Again, you heard it here first, guys.
I mean, with any of the Sasquatch or weird creature stuff, I mean, as much as I'd love diving into it and I'd love to believe in the existence of this stuff, you still have to throw in the possibility of a dude in a suit. I mean, if they're able to make the creature the Black Lagoon suit, I mean, why couldn't somebody else make one or have their own version of it? I mean, I know special effects weren't what they were back then as they are now, where people can make like fully like realistic costumes at home now. But like back in the day, I know people just didn't have the means or money to do that kind of shit. But I mean, realistically, if you're coming out of a lake submerged and chasing some kids off, I don't think the costume has to be that great. It's just a matter of like catching them at the right time and then having them run off with only seeing it for a split second.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to make a costume, you got to make it Yeah, that seems like an awful lot of work to just scare a couple of hooligans.
If you're a teenage boy, there's never too much work to pull over a good prank.
Well, yeah, if it was a teenage boy in 1970, whenever this was, maybe so.
What the fuck else do you got to do in 1970 something? I mean, you're just chilling outside. Your parents say you can't come back in the house till after it gets dark. I mean, fuck it. Why not just sit in a lake and just scare people?
A monster outfit?
Yeah, why not? Why the fuck not? If you got the time to do it, why not? I mean, there was a dude who literally walked around the beach for, what was it, like 50, 60 years with giant metal penguin feet on the bottom of his feet and tricked people into thinking there was some type of monster. The dude did it for 50 years and then just admitted it when he was dying just for this. He just did it for the sake of doing it. Like, I mean,
yeah, that motherfucker needed a new hobby.
Yeah, right.
I don't think I've ever been that bored.
Dude, I would like feel like if you're not into the cryptid community, like whatever, like I guess a prank's a prank. But if you're into the cryptid community at all, like I would feel awful doing that, you know, because it's like you're getting people's hopes up for the existence of something possibly mysterious in this world, and then you just crush their dreams on your deathbed. Like, that's a good way to go out.
Dream crusher.
Yeah, dream crusher. Let's put that one on the checklist of titles. When they're checking that giant book of all the deeds that you've done in your life, they'll be like, you lied for 50 years, you hoaxer. That's going to get remembered. That's going to be like in bold print.
Straight to the firing squad.
Straight to the firing squad. You're out. Done. Some believe that the monster is a remnant of a dinosaur, a survivor from a bygone era that has somehow found its way into modern times. Others speculate that it could be a new species yet to be discovered by science. Could the Thetis Lake Monster be real, or is it merely a figment of wild imagination? Skeptics and scientists have long debated the existence of cryptids like the Thetis Lake Monster, offering theories ranging from misidentification to elaborate hoaxes. Despite efforts to unravel the mystery through scientific means, the truth remains elusive, leaving room for wonder and speculation. So, are we to believe Van Nuys's claim that because he and Gold made up the story that Fluellen and Pike did the same and simply haven't come forward? Or should we believe Martin's story that the Lake Thetis Monster is still in the lake to this day? As with most cryptid legends, anything is possible, and it's up to the outsider to decide which side of the story they would want to believe. But as the sun sets over the tranquil waters of Thetis Lake each day, the mystery lingers on, waiting to be unraveled by those bold enough to seek the truth.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So, like I said, that was a semi-quick one. I mean, it was still like about 45 minutes worth, but I was kind of scowling and I couldn't really find too much more information on it. I was trying to even find some more like modern lake monster sightings from like Reddit and stuff like that. Of course, there's the couple that Lauren Coleman talks about, but realistically, like it's most people, when you try to look up lake monster sightings, it's Loch Ness Monster type beings. It's, you know, like the plesiosaur, stuff like that. It's like, you don't find too much information on this, but again, it could be like a split thing where maybe the lizard man stuff and this is the same stuff, and it was just a matter of this lizard man happened to be around a lake at the time. Maybe it was, you know, maybe there was a shit ton of fish in the lake and he was just taking advantage of an opportunity, you know? And it is all the same type of being or creature.
Yeah, and you know, there's these type of stories where they're kind of just one-off or maybe a couple of sightings and then it kind of fades away into obscurity. But I think it's good to kind of bring some notoriety to those type of cases because, I mean, we talk about Mothman and Bigfoot and stuff like that all the time. But these little ones like this, it's kind of fun to kind of branch out and talk about those.
I've only heard this covered on one other podcast in the whole time that I've been listening to podcasts. So I got to give a shout out because he's a friend in the community. Tom from Strange Brew, and he's actually from Canada, so it completely makes sense why he covered this story. But again, trying to dig into some of the more obscure stuff to just bring it back into the focal point of people. Because again, everybody talks about the typical cryptids, but stuff like this gets forgotten. And if it's not for people bringing back these stories, then it's just going to get lost in time. And then, you know, there's not going to be anything on the story, and everybody's just going to assume it's a hoax right off the bat, and then it's just going to be thrown out, and that's just going to be the end of that.
Yeah, and you know, I'm prone to believe pretty much any weird creature sighting that anybody has, but yeah, I think this one might be just kind of some combination of a hoax, or it just was like a catfish or something that these kids saw and it just scared the shit out of them. I mean, the whole creature from the Black Lagoon thing, maybe that was just the best frame of reference they had for whatever they saw, and it was some kind of monster. But I don't know, with like the one group of boys coming out and saying it was an outright hoax, and obviously they just kind of latched onto what happened before. But still, I mean, I think more so than a lot of things we talk about, this one just could be, right place, right time. It was a hoax, and then just kind of got away from these kids. But I don't know. What are your kind of concluding thoughts on this one?
I mean, I still kind of hop into the whole possibility of it being part of the typical like lizard man sighting phenomenon. I'm going to try to dig it a little bit more into the area. Maybe I can come in and mention on the next episode, seeing if there's any like cave openings in the area, because it seems like a lot of the like lizard man stuff seems to be somewhat hollow earth / underground cave related. So maybe this one was just seen around a lake by chance, or again, just taking advantage of a food source. I mean, even if you're an underwater or an underground dwelling being, if there's a giant lake that's just ripe with food that's easy for you to get, like, why not take advantage of it, Because otherwise it's like, what are you going to deal with on the in-between for land? It's like, if you were about the size of a human and you don't have the ability to use like firearms and stuff like that, you're not going to be like hunting deer, you're not going to be hunting bear, you're not going to be hunting any of that. The shit you might be able to get a hold of is like raccoons, squirrels, chipmunks, that kind of shit. So altogether, like, fish are better eating. So I think it's a possibility that it wraps in with the typical lizard man phenomenon, but it just happened to be that the ones that are in this area are taking advantage of the fish being a primary food source.
Yeah, that's totally possible. And then just between, the outright hoax aspect of it, and then just like the movie being on TV, and it kind of shrouds the truth of the story. Who knows?
I mean, I'm going to throw in the other possible theory on this one. I can't say it enough, dude. It was the 70s, man. Like, when kids were out for the day, they just did whatever floated their boat for the day, Like, they would spend the day fucking throwing rocks at trains driving by. I mean, who's to say that some kid wouldn't decide, like, hey, I want to fuck with some kids in the area, and he just put on, like, a black scuba suit that or a black wetsuit his dad may have had in the garage or something like that, for example, and then put on a Creature of the Black Lagoon mask. And when you come out of a lake and you chase some kids and you're literally just wearing a wetsuit and a Creature from the Black Lagoon mask, under that fear, those kids could have completely misinterpreted it. Like, it may not be nearly as complex as we made it sound. It literally just could have been a wetsuit and a fucking Creature from the Black Lagoon mask.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those Occam's razor type situations. Sometimes the simplest solution is the correct one. So who knows?
I mean, how easy would it be to even add spikes to that kind of stuff? I mean, if anybody wanted to, again, some dude went through an elaborate hoax of spending 50 years putting footprints on a beach. Who's to say some kid wouldn't spend an afternoon putting some additional pieces on his dad's wetsuit to scare some local kids?
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess other than that, any other closing thoughts on this one before we start wrapping this one up?
No, I think I'm good on this one. This was a new one for me, so thank you for doing the research on this. And I think this is, like I said, it's good to do these kind of off-the-wall cryptids that people don't talk about, just like you said, to keep the legend alive. So thanks for sharing this with me and sharing it with the listeners tonight.
Of course, man. And something kind of new that I want to start doing on the show, considering that we've been doing a lot of our own deep dives lately versus like having guests on and stuff. At the end of the show, I kind of want to start giving listeners a teaser for what's coming next week. And the extent of whoever is presenting it wants to present it is completely up to them. So if you want to keep it a secret and kind of tease it, or do you want to tell them directly, I think it might be kind of fun to start teasing people for the next episode. So considering that you're covering the next episode, I'll kind of leave the ball in your court if you want to leave it as a teaser, or you want to tell them directly what you're looking into and get them excited for next week.
Yeah, so like we've talked about time and time again on the show, it's kind of funny how our independent research ends up kind of overlapping a lot.
You doing an aquatic monster? Please tell me you are.
Yeah, more or less. So that's all I'm going to say right now. But we're going to be kind of in the same arena, same wheelhouse next week, and we're going to touch on some of the same stuff. So you guys come back and see what kind of foolishness we get into next week.
And then the following week, I know we have an interview coming up. Is it that week or is it the week after?
I'm not sure. I still can't get on the calendar.
Oh, well, we'll have to figure that out after the show. But just to throw it out there, too, after that, we will be taking it to Europe. Big shout out to one of the listeners who is gotten really into bizarre encounters, and I can't appreciate it enough. I guess I will give him a bit more of a shout out in the episode, but we will be taking it to Europe. I guess he says that this isn't the search. We're taking it to Scandinavia, and we're going to be covering Norwegian trolls. I got to make sure that I say it properly because I don't want to sound like an ignorant American. So, even though I kind of am. I mean, not going to lie, up until a couple of years ago, I thought the UK was England, not realizing that technically it's the UK is England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and individually it's the specific countries. So again, some ignorant American shit up until it was probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I thought UK and England was basically saying the same thing.
Yeah, well, hey, we're just getting better over here. That's all.
Potato, potato. I mean, potato, potato, tomato, tomato?
Sure.
Sure. So if you guys enjoy our wackiness, you guys enjoy our deep dives, you guys enjoy our seriousness, you guys enjoy everything about us, you guys should definitely take a few minutes to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. And of course, we will read on the show and give you guys a shout out if you guys are kind enough to do so. And also, you guys can share the show or this particular episode if you think somebody might really enjoy it through word of mouth. Awesome way to organically help the show grow. We do all we can to help the show grow on our side, but realistically, it's kind of all about that organic growth through almost like a street team. So the only way that this show is going to keep being able to expand is with your guys' help. So if you guys are around, you guys are enjoying the show, help us to keep doing what we're doing, and share the show, leave reviews for the show, do anything you can to just help promote the shit out of the show, guys.
And you guys know the drill. Do all the internet things. Get up with us through social media, through the Discord, through the submission forms, through email, all that good stuff. You guys know what to do. Do the internet things. Just get up with us somehow. And you can share fan art, have a conversation, be a guest, all that good stuff.
And every single thing that we've mentioned throughout the episode is all available in the link tree, which is available down in the show description. And guys, I have been the one that they call Shayn Squatch.
And I've been Big Bad Boo Daddy.
Boo Daddy. I'm going to make you
Boo
like
Daddy.
a button or something. Boo. I'm going to get a boo button or something. I'm going to do something for Boo Daddy.
Yeah, we'll workshop that.
But guys, just like we try to do around here, clearly, because we get unhinged, we get weird, we don't give a fuck, man.
Yeah, this was a pretty unhinged one tonight.
We had to fill in some of the space because there wasn't too much information on it.
Yeah. So when you don't have enough information, just go full on unhinged. That's the moral of the story, kiddos.
Exactly. And always, guys, don't forget, the message of the whole thing is to stay bizarre. Bizarre. Bizarre.
Hitchhiking lovesick lizards?